Keeper of the Lost Cities, Everblaze, Chapter 66. Sophie's body started to shake, but not from the Arctic air. She barely felt the wind or the snow or the sharp jostling of what she assumed was an ogre carrying her. The world grew dim as the blackness clouded her mind, and red rimmed the edges of her vision as a fear and fury started to boil into a frenzy. She let her rage stew as long as she could bear it. Then she shoved the bitterness out of her head, spreading the pain and wrath as far as it could travel. Her captor grunted and dropped her, but when she sank into the ice, the cold bored into her bones, breaking her concentration and leaving her numb and useless. She lay there shivering, knowing she should run, but her head was spinning and spinning and spinning. The air was so thin it felt like she wasn't even breathing. She was so tired, maybe if she just closed her eyes. Thick hands hoisted her up, and she tried to thrash, but her muscles were too weak. She barely managed a raspy scream before cold metal was shoved over her nose, and she could breathe. She gulped the sweet, soft air as a heavy white cloak wrapped around her shoulders, shielding her from the icy wind. "I've got you," a high, squeaky voice promised, and it took her a second to realize it was Sandor. He hefted her over his shoulder as she tightened her grip, and Sandor started to slide down the steep embankment. They'd only gone a few feet when someone yanked Sandor backward. Sophie slipped from his arms, tumbling through the snow, trailed by howls and snarls and growls and whimpers. She couldn't tell which massive body was Sandor's in the glimpses she caught through the blasting snow. She could tell he was battling an ogre, and when an agonizing screech splattered red among the pristine white, she scrambled towards the collapsed body, promising she would never give Sandor a hard time again if it was just not him. A blur of gray muscle yanked her away, and it took her a second to realize the familiar flat-nosed face. "You're not dead!" she cried, feeling tears freeze before they could even fall. "Neither is he," Sandor grumbled, as he shifted her weight onto his other shoulder. That's when she felt the warm wetness seeping from his chest. "You're bleeding." These conditions have slowed my reflexes, especially without the purifier. Sophie reached for the oxygen mask he'd given her, but when he grabbed her hand, he smeared blood into her palm. "Sorry," he murmured, wiping her hand on the clean part of his chest. "You need that far more than me. I can breathe relatively normally up here. It just makes everything foggy. That's what cost me my sword." "Where's everyone else?" Sophie asked, trying to see throughout the whiteout around them. "I do not know. The dwarves came up through the ground after I chased you, but I'm hoping your friends are still waiting near the outcropping. Is your head clear enough to teleport?" "I think so," she said, sucking in another breath, "but I'm not leaving." "Yes, you are. And don't even think about—" A wall of muscle slammed them from behind, sending Sandor crashing on top of her. The thick snow saved Sophie from the bulk of his crushing weight, but the fall still knocked the wind out of her, leaving her coughing and wheezing as Sandor pushed himself to his feet. He had barely gone 2 steps before a massive ogre tackled him again, tearing at Sandor's neck and chest with his pointed teeth as they tumbled over the ground. "You're going over, Flat-Nose," the ogre shouted as he shoved Sandor towards the edge. "If I do, you're coming with me." Sandor widened his stance, holding his bleeding arms at the ready. "Deal." The ogre launched himself at Sandor with all of his strength. The collision so loud it knocked Sandor back another step. They wobbled once, twice, then toppled off the cliff. "No!" Sophie screamed, sprinting to where they'd fallen. The drop had to be at least 1,000 feet, and all she could see at the bottom was red